Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another SettlePal Academy webinar. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Bill, and I am the community manager here at SettlePal. So, firstly, I'd just like to thank every single one of you. I can see we've got quite a few people in today. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, because whether you're a long-time member, whether you're an experienced trader, or you've only just recently joined the SettlePal community, we are so delighted to have you with us. So yeah, thanks for being here. Today's webinar is a little bit different from our usual community updates. We're not really here to talk about promotions or product announcements. Instead, today's session is going to be all about education, helping everyone gain a better understanding of how digital asset markets work, how modern trading infrastructure operates, and why platforms like SettlePal exist in the first place. So one thing that we've learned over the last few years is that community comes from many different backgrounds. Our community comes from many different backgrounds. Some members have been trading cryptocurrencies for years. Some come across traditional finance or forex, and others are just beginning their journey into digital assets. So, regardless of your experience, we really believe that there's always something new to learn. Markets evolve, technology changes, and understanding the mechanics behind trading really helps all of us make better informed decisions. So our goal today is very simple. By the end of today's session, hopefully you'll have a clearer understanding of why prices differ between exchanges, why arbitrage opportunities exist in the first place, and why settlement is just as important as execution, how centralized exchanges process those trades, and why you don't receive a blockchain transaction ID for every sale, every trade, sorry. But before we begin, I would like to know where everyone is joining us from today. So please let me know in the chat where you're from. It's always I always personally enjoy seeing how global our community has now become. It's awesome. Getting a few UKs here. Paul. Oh wow. Okay, great. Awesome. Oh, lovely. Okay, that's cool. Lot of UK people in the chat today. I love that. Okay, so we'll start with section one, which is why do prices differ between exchanges? So right, everyone, look, let's start with our very first topic, and it's probably one of the most common questions we receive from both new and experienced members. Why do these prices differ between exchanges? Because at first, this can seem a little confusing. It definitely was to me. Um, After all, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, right? So surely it should have one global price. Well, the reality is actually it doesn't, because Bitcoin isn't traded on one single marketplace. It's traded on hundreds of different exchanges all around the world, and every exchange has its own buyers, sellers, order books, liquidity, trading activity. Because every exchange operates independently, prices are going to naturally move slightly differently throughout the day. And a simple way to think about that is like you're booking a flight or you're buying a hotel room, you might check one website and see one price, but then you're going to check another website a few minutes later and you're going to see a completely different price. It's still the same flight or the same hotel, of course, but different platforms are going to have different prices depending on what's happening on that platform. And crypto crypto works in a very, very similar way. So another simple example that I use is, imagine that Bitcoin is currently trading at $60,000 on exchange A, while at exactly the same time it's trading at 61,000 on exchange B. It's exactly the same Bitcoin, but because they're two separate marketplaces, the prices are not identical, of course. And most people, when I say that, they immediately think, well, that's easy. I'll just buy it for $60,000 and sell it for $61,000. And honestly, that's exactly what arbitrage is. So you're going to be buying an asset where it's cheaper and you're selling it where it's more expensive. The idea itself is simple. But the difficult part is understanding arbitrage. Sorry, the difficult part isn't understanding arbitrage. The difficult part is actually carrying it out in a consistent way. And that's where things actually, in my opinion, become a lot more interesting because that is where we come in. That's where SettlePal comes in. Because let's imagine you wanted to do this for yourself, right? You spotted Bitcoin at $60,000 on exchange A and $61,000 on exchange B. Now you know exactly where and what you want to buy and exactly where you want to sell it. So, what would stop you from doing that? Well, I guess the first question is, do you already have fully verified accounts on both exchanges? Not just an account, by the way, but one that's completed KYC, has security verification enabled, and is ready to trade immediately. And the second question is, do you already have funds sitting on both exchanges? Because if all of your money is on exchange A, you can't simply just buy Bitcoin, transfer it to exchange B, and then sell it. By the time you transfer Bitcoin, that price has, most likely disappeared. And professional arbitrage doesn't actually work by moving money after an opportunity appears. It works because the funds are positioned across, multiple exchanges before the opportunity even exists. And then, of course, there's the challenge of monitoring the market itself because opportunities can appear and disappear within seconds. So you'd need to be watching multiple exchanges at the same time, comparing prices, calculating fees, checking available liquidity, and executing both trades almost instantly. So even if you do all of that successfully, you've even got one bigger problem. After buying it on one exchange and selling it on another, your balances are no longer the same. And you now have more Bitcoin on one exchange and more USDT on another. So if you repeat that process over and over again, eventually your capital becomes unbalanced. One exchange might be running low on Bitcoin, another might be running low on USDT. And unless you constantly rebalance those assets, you eventually do run out of the ability to keep trading efficiently. So this is where settlement becomes just as important as finding the opportunity itself. And at SettlePal, we don't just focus on identifying price differences, we also focus on what happens after the trade. Our infrastructure combines inter-exchange arbitrage with triangular arbitrage strategies to help rebalance liquidity and capital, allowing trading activity to continue rather than just having funds become stranded on different exchanges, essentially. So in other words, finding one opportunity is the easy part, but building a system that continues identifying opportunities, managing settlements, rebalancing assets, and keeping capital working efficiently, that is where experience, technology, and infrastructure all come together. And that's exactly why settlement is such an important part of what we do. So, yeah, I mean, now that we understand why prices can be different between exchanges, let's move on to the next topic, which is why don't these opportunities actually stay there? Let's say if Bitcoin is $60,000 on one exchange and 61,000 on another, why doesn't that difference actually last for hours? And the simple answer is it's because the market is actually constantly moving. Remember, you're not the only person that's going to be looking at those prices. Around the world, there are literally thousands of traders, institutions, and automated trading systems all monitoring the same exchanges. And the moment that an opportunity appears, people begin buying on the lower priced exchange and selling on the higher priced exchange. And as more people buy, of course, the cheaper price starts to rise. And as more people sell, the higher price starts to fall. And before long, both exchanges are trading at almost the same price again. And that opportunity has now, unfortunately, disappeared. And that can happen, especially nowadays, that can happen in seconds and sometimes even faster. And that's why arbitrage isn't actually about predicting the future or guessing, where Bitcoin is going to be tomorrow. It's about recognizing those opportunities and acting on them while they exist. The faster the market reacts, the shorter the window becomes. So naturally, Naturally, the next question is, why can't I just do this myself? Well, like I said, in today's market, speed is incredibly, incredibly important. Because by the time that you have noticed the opportunity, logged into an exchange, checked those prices, placed your order, and confirmed everything, the market may have already moved. Um, and professional trading today isn't done by manually refreshing charts all day. I'd say mostly it's supported by technology that continuously monitors markets and responds far, far quicker than a person realistically could. Um, and again, that's where SettlePal comes in. Because our infrastructure is designed to monitor multiple market venues continuously and react efficiently when those opportunities arise, rather than requiring users to watch, charts 24 hours a day or manually compare dozens of exchanges. SettlePal is actually simplifying that experience through our technology and our automation. And for our members, that means that you don't have to be an expert trader or spend your entire day analyzing the markets. The platform is actually designed to make participation much simpler, allowing users to benefit from professional infrastructure without needing to build that infrastructure themselves. And our goal is to make the experience, sorry, straightforward, accessible, and efficient, while the technology handles the complexity behind the scenes. So, as members, you simply see an easy to use platform, but behind that platform is really a significant amount of technology that is working continuously to monitor markets and to execute efficiently and to keep everything operating smoothly for you guys. So that's one of the biggest advantages, I think, in general of modern trading infrastructure. So, yeah, so I mean, now we've covered why those opportunities exist, why they disappear so quickly, but there is another term that you're going to hear constantly in crypto and finance: settlement. And what exactly is settlement? And why is it just as important as executing those trades, the trade itself? Well, let's take a look. So far today, we kind of learned the why prices, sorry, can differ between exchanges, and we've also talked about why those opportunities don't last very long. But here, as you'll see, is something many people never really think about. What happens after the trade? So let's go back to our example, right? So Bitcoin is trading at $60,000 on exchange A and $61,000 on exchange B. You buy a Bitcoin on exchange A and you sell it on exchange B, and you've successfully completed an arbitrage trade, right? And most people would be like, yeah, great, that's the end of the arbitrage. That's the end of the process. But in reality, actually, it's kind of only the beginning, because after completing that trade, of course, your balances have now changed. And on one exchange, you spent USDT to buy Bitcoin, while on the other, you've sold Bitcoin and now you hold more USDT. You've made a profit, but your assets are no longer balanced across your exchanges. And now you need to imagine that you're going to be repeating that process hundreds or maybe even thousands of times throughout the day. And eventually, one exchange, you might have plenty of Bitcoin, but very little USDT. Another, you might have lots of USDT, but very little Bitcoin. And if you don't continually manage those balances, then you're eventually going to slow down or even potentially stop trading altogether, because the assets you need are no longer actually where you need them. So this is what we mean by settlement, essentially. So settlement isn't simply about completing today's trades. It's also about making sure that your assets remain in the right place so that you're ready for, the next opportunity and the one after that. Because professional trading isn't just about finding those profitable opportunities. It's actually also about keeping your entire trading operation running efficiently. And well, this is where SettlePal comes in, and this is where SettlePal's expertise are really felt, and they really come into play here. So many people assume that our AI is simply looking for the biggest price difference between exchanges, but in reality, actually, that's only one part of the decision. Our infrastructure is actually connected to multiple exchanges. It allows our AI to monitor market opportunities, available balances, settlement requirements, and asset inventory across the entire trading ecosystem. Every trade changes our balances. So we may have more USDT on one exchange, more Bitcoin on another, and perhaps we need additional ETH or another trading asset on a specific exchange. Our AI is constantly analyzing those positions and asking, what do we currently have, what do we need, and what's kind of the most efficient way to keep us trading. And that is why we combine inter-exchange arbitrage with triangular arbitrage. Inter-exchange arbitrage is the strategy that we've been discussing today, identifying those price differences between different exchanges and executing trades where those opportunities exist. Whereas triangular arbitrage works a little bit differently. So instead of looking between exchanges, it actually looks at different trading pairs within an exchange. And for example, let's say instead of simply trading USDT to Bitcoin, the AI may actually identify a more efficient route, such as USDT to ETH and ETH to Bitcoin, or Bitcoin back to USDT, depending on current market conditions and what assets are going to be required. Now, this does allow the AI to do much better, to do much more than simply just identifying another trading opportunity. It actually helps rebalance the assets within the exchange, ensuring that we maintain the inventory needed for future trades without constantly moving funds on chain or interrupting that trading activity, which we don't want to do. So let me give you a simple example now. So like here, right? So imagine two opportunities appear at exactly the same time, which often happens. The first opportunity offers a slightly higher return, but completing it would leave one exchange even shorter on Bitcoin than it already currently is. The second opportunity might offer a slightly lower return, but it helps replenish the Bitcoin we need on that exchange while still generating a really positive trading result. And I think most people would probably simply choose that larger return, but our AI, SettlePal, it looks at the bigger picture. And it understands that keeping our exchanges balanced actually means we can kind of continue to execute opportunities throughout the day rather than having to stop to manually rebalance assets later. So instead of asking which trade makes the most money right now, our AI actually asks which combination of trades keeps the entire trading ecosystem operating most efficiently. So it does consider those price differences, settlement, available balances, inventory levels, future trading capacity, and thousands of other variables at the same time before deciding which opportunities to execute. So that's one of the biggest differences, I think, between doing it manually yourself, manual arbitrage, and kind of actually professional trading infrastructure in general. So I think a person might see one profitable trade, whereas SettlePal is going to see the entire trading system, the entire play. Every decision is made with the next trade, with the next settlement, the next opportunity already kind of in its mind. So that's why we often say that identifying the opportunity is only half of the challenge, because the real expertise lies in continuously executing, settling, and rebalancing assets so the trading ecosystem can, operate efficiently, trade after trade, throughout the entire day. So I guess now we've covered what happens after a trade and why settlement is such an important part of the process. The next question we hear almost every week from our lovely community is, if all these trades are happening, where is my TXID? And to answer that properly, we kind of first need to understand how centralized exchanges are actually working, because the way they process trades is very different from what most people expect. So let's just take a closer look. Um, how do how do centralized exchanges work, and what does the blockchain actually prove? So let's move on to one of the questions that we probably receive more than any others from the community. Where is the TXID for my trade? It is a great question. And to answer it properly, we probably first need to answer how a centralized exchange, or CEX, actually works. So many people assume that every cryptocurrency trade happens directly on the blockchain, but in reality, that's not actually how a centralized exchange operates. Instead, they use what's called an order book. So buyers and sellers are matched internally by the exchange. And once a trade is matched, the exchange simply updates its own records to show who now owns those assets. So the trade has actually taken place, but it hadn't been individually recorded on the blockchain. And a simple example is that when you withdraw cryptocurrency from Binance, Bybit, or another major exchange, the funds aren't going to come directly from another customer's wallet. Instead, they're normally sent from one of the exchange's own hot wallets. And that's because customer balances are managed internally, and the blockchain is primarily used when assets move into or out of the exchange through deposits, withdrawals, and settlements. The reason exchanges actually work this way is very simple. It's efficiency. It's all to do with efficiency. If every trade had to wait for blockchain confirmation, then trading would simply be really slow. Well, it'd be a lot slower. Every transaction would have to incur network fees, and exchanges really, I think they simply just couldn't process the thousands of trades that are taking place every second. By using an internal order book, however, centralized exchanges are executing trades almost instantly while only using the blockchain when assets are actually needing to move. So when members ask why don't receive the TXID for every individual trade, the answer is quite straightforward. The trade itself is executed inside the exchange, while the blockchain is actually used to record on-chain asset movements, not every individual buy and sell. So that naturally brings us to another question, of course, which is what does the blockchain actually prove? Well, the blockchain creates a permanent, transparent, and tamper-resistant record of on-chain transactions. So it can prove when assets moved, which wallet addresses were involved, the transaction amount, the timestamp, and the confirmation history. And once that information is recorded, literally anyone can independently verify it. What the blockchain doesn't show, however, is the exchange's internal order book, or the millions of trades being matched inside the exchange every day. Those records remain within the exchange, while the blockchain records records assets entering and leaving that ecosystem. And I guess the simple way that I've said to some members before to remember is it is this that the exchange records the trade, the blockchain records the movement of assets. So together they provide that complete cohesive picture. And again, this is where SettlePal comes in really nicely. How does this relate to what you see inside SettlePal? Well, when your trade has been completed, you're going to notice that we also provide a blockchain transaction reference as part of our settlement and verification process. So if you viewed one before, you're going to see information such as your partially censored email address, the trade timestamp, trade duration, trade type, expiry time, all together with other settlement information that has been recorded on chain. And this gives our members an additional level of transparency, because it obviously allows you to independently verify that the settlement record has been broadcast and recorded on the blockchain where applicable. It's important to understand that it's not the exchange execution itself, the trade executed inside the centralized exchange using its order book. The blockchain is then used as part of the settlement and verification process. And these are two different parts of the same trading life cycle. And understanding that difference helps answer one of the biggest questions that we receive from our members. at SettlePal, our infrastructure, it brings all these technologies together. We utilize multiple centralized exchanges for their speed, for their liquidity, and efficient execution. But that's all while continuously managing settlement, inventory, and capital across our trading ecosystem. Where blockchain interaction is required, however, we utilize Polygon as part of our layer two infrastructure to provide fast and cost-effective on-chain settlement and verification. So looking ahead, what we're really also excited about, we were also really very excited about the future of decentralized exchanges or DEXs. Unlike centralized exchanges, DEXs execute trades directly on chain using smart contracts. While centralized exchanges currently provide the execution quality and liquidity required for our infrastructure, decentralized trading continues to develop very rapidly, and it's an area we're actively exploring as part of SettlePal's, long-term technology roadmap. I think the important thing really to remember is that centralized exchanges provide really efficient execution. Blockchains provide transparent settlement and verification. SettlePal combines both technologies into one seamless trading ecosystem. So, so we've learned why prices differ between exchanges, why arbitrage opportunities exist, why settlement is just as important as execution, and how centralized exchanges work, and of course what the blockchain actually records. So we've looked at each individual piece of that puzzle. I think our final question is, how does SettlePal bring all of these pieces together to make digital asset trading simpler, more efficient, and more accessible to our members? So let's bring everything together. We've now reached our final topic. Today we've covered a lot, together. We've learned why prices differ between exchanges, why arbitrage opportunities don't last forever, and why settlement is just as important as execution. How centralized exchanges work, and what the blockchain actually records. Why those technologies all kind of play different roles within the digital asset industry, and individually, each of those topics is really important. But the real value comes from understanding how they all work together. Because at SettlePal, we don't just focus on finding arbitrage opportunities. We bring together multiple technologies, trading strategies and infrastructure into one complete ecosystem that is designed to operate efficiently. Our infrastructure is connected to multiple centralized exchanges, allowing our AI to continuously monitor market conditions and identify opportunities as they rise. But as we've discussed today, it's not simply looking for the biggest price differences. Every opportunity is evaluated alongside settlement requirements, exchange balances, and available inventory at future trading and future trading capacity. Every trade becomes part of a much bigger picture. So sometimes the highest return opportunity isn't necessarily the best decision if it creates an imbalance that then limits the future trading of the day. Instead, our AI is continually evaluating what assets we have, what assets we need, and where they are located, and which combination of trades keeps the entire trading ecosystem operating efficiently. That's why we combine that inter-exchange arbitrage and the triangular arbitrage in intelligent settlement and inventory management, rather than just treating them as separate processes. They all work together to keep capital moving, exchanges balanced, and trading opportunities available throughout the day. For you, as a member, all of that complexity is happening behind the scenes. You don't actually need accounts across multiple exchanges. You don't need to monitor markets 24 hours a day. And you definitely don't need to manually calculate opportunities, manage settlement, or rebalance assets yourself. Instead, you have access to a platform, SettlePal, which is designed to make an incredibly complex process much simpler and easier to understand. Behind the user interface is a really significant amount of technology working continuously to monitor markets, evaluate opportunities, execute trades, manage settlement, and optimize capital across the trading ecosystem. That is the benefit of bringing all of these individual pieces together. I guess why does the education on it matter? Because I have just taken you through quite a class there. I'd like to just finish, I guess, talking about something that's really important to us at SettlePal, and that is education. One thing that we've really learned from our wonderful community is that everyone joins with a very different level of experience. Some members, as I said earlier, have been trading for years, while others are completely new to digital assets. And that's why we've just launched SettlePal Academy. And our goal isn't actually to provide a platform. It isn't simply to provide a platform, sorry. It's actually to help our community better understand the technology and the markets around it. So today, there's an incredible amount of free education material available. Many of the world's largest exchanges, blockchain projects, and technology companies provide excellent learning resources, including Binance Academy, Bybit Learn, Coinbase Learn, and many others. I'd really encourage everyone to continue learning, not just about SettlePal, but about blockchain technology in general, digital assets, and the wider financial markets as well. Because knowledge doesn't just help you understand the industry; it helps you make better decisions and become a stronger leader within our community. Before we move on to the closing of today's SettlePal Academy webinar and our giveaway, we'd like to finish with a quick knowledge check. So these are some of the most common questions about digital asset trading. It's a great opportunity to test what you've learned here today. Hopefully I've done my job and see how much you've remembered. So as a bonus, everyone who completes the quiz will receive one additional entry into today's giveaway, giving you an even better chance of winning. Don't worry if you're not completely sure of every answer. Have a go anyway. That's how we all learn. Okay, so each question has three possible answers, A, B, or C. Remember, when submitting, please write out your email address along with your list of answers in one single message on our Zoom meeting. For example, if you think question 1 is A, question 2 is C, and question 3 is B, you would simply type 1A, 2B, 2C, 3B along with your email address. Remember, if you just submit an answer, we're not going to know who's submitted the answers. So please make sure you submit your email and answers all together. Our team behind the scenes, our lovely team, is going to review everyone's answers after today's webinar, and we're going to reveal the correct answers before announcing today's giveaway winners. So I'll go through the questions with you. I think actually, you've got them here. Okay, so why can Bitcoin have different prices on different exchanges? A, each exchange has its own buyers, sellers, order book, and liquidity. B, Bitcoin has a different value on every blockchain. Or C, exchanges manually choose different prices every hour. I'm going to give you 10 seconds on that. I hope I've done my job and taught you correctly today. We'll find out. Okay, question 2. Why do arbitrage opportunities disappear? A, exchanges automatically remove profitable trades after a few seconds. B, supply and demand within each exchange's order book naturally moves prices back towards global market equilibrium as traders buy and sell. Or C, Bitcoin automatically changes its price every minute. 10 seconds on that one, people. Gosh, I hope I would know this as well. Wish I could get involved with the giveaways. Unfortunately, I'm running them. So, question 3. Okay, hopefully you've had enough time. Okay, so question 3 is, what is arbitrage settlement? A, waiting for every trade to be confirmed on the blockchain. B, managing and rebalancing assets across exchanges so capital remains available for future trading. Or C, withdrawing profits after every successful trade. Another 10 seconds on that, people. Go for it. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, question 4 of 5. How do centralized exchanges normally execute trades? A, by matching buyers and sellers internally through an order book. B, by transferring cryptocurrency directly between customer wallets. Or C, by recording every trade immediately on the blockchain. I mean, we've just spoken about that one. So you got 10 seconds. See if you can get 5 out of 5. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And final question, question 5. What does the blockchain primarily record? Every order placed inside a centralized exchange, that's A. B, future trading opportunities identified by AI, that's B. And C, on-chain asset movements, wallet addresses, timestamps, and transaction history. Another final 10 seconds there, people. Get your answers in. Make sure you include your email as well so that our lovely team know who you are. Maybe try and include it all in the same chat. That'd be great. Good luck. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking part. We're going to collect all of your answers and review them after today's webinar. And then, yeah, we're going to reveal the answers just before announcing today's giveaway winners. Now, just before we finish, finish today's first SettlePal Academy webinar, I would really like to leave you with a few final thoughts that I have here. I'd like to first personally just thank every one of you for joining today's SettlePal Academy webinar. We really genuinely appreciate you taking the time to learn with us. And we hope that, well, I hope, and we hope that today's session has really helped some of you answer some of the questions that you maybe had originally about digital asset trading and the technology behind SettlePal. Because remember, nobody becomes an expert overnight. It is quite complicated. So keep asking those questions, keep attending these academy sessions, keep expanding your knowledge, and never be afraid to learn something new. It's what we're here to do as a group, and I'm really happy that you could join us today. Your relationship manager is always also here to support you, and if there are topics that you'd like us to cover in the next webinar, in future webinars in general, we would love to hear your suggestions. So together, we're going to continue building not only a stronger platform, but also a stronger, more knowledgeable community. And yeah, giveaway time. As promised, it's now time for today's SettlePal Academy giveaway. As a thank you for joining today's webinar, we're giving away 10 prizes of 50 USDT, making a total giveaway of $500 USDT. To enter, just simply type your registered SettlePal email address into the webinar chat now, and our team will verify all eligible entries after today's session. And within 72 hours, we're going to announce those 10 winners on our official Telegram announcement channel. So if you're not already following them, make sure you do so after today's webinar to see if you are one of today's lucky winners. Once again, thank you so much for being part of the SettlePal community. We've really enjoyed today's academy, making this for you, and we hope that you enjoyed today's academy session. So we look forward to seeing you in the next one. And until then, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for joining. Good luck, everyone.